Hey, welcome back to this episode of the Denial of the Day podcast. I got my boy Casey Kazir here, and
What's
he and
up?
I are going to talk about some things that you want to know in the marketplace as a general contractor, roofer, restoration contractor, if you're a property manager, commercial real estate broker, if you're a municipality or a school district or a REIT, a real estate investment trust. This all comes into play because a lot of people will ask us a few things. One, what is a public adjuster? Two, how do I know that I need a public adjuster? And three, when do I get a public adjuster involved in the claim? So, Casey, welcome, my friend.
Thank you, Taylor. Appreciate it.
Definitely, brother. Hey, let's have you start with question number one. What is a public insurance adjuster?
So we get asked all the time, what is a public adjuster? So high level, we are here to advocate, help the claim get settled correctly,
Right.
and keep the policyholder. We act as a fiduciary. We're licensed and bonded through the state.
Right.
We're
That's
like,
important.
yeah, absolutely. So we're licensed and bonded through the state. So like, well, what's that mean? All right, well, that means that we have to keep up our CE credits, our training, our education to
Right.
be an advocate for the policyholder. Whether it's a residential claim or a commercial claim, it's our job to be on their side, to act on their behalf, and to have their best interest in mind. So our interests align with the policyholder's interests as we move forward through the claim process.
Right. Absolutely. You bring up a good point is we have a fiduciary responsibility, which means that we must look out for the best interests of our client, the insured, the policyholder, property owner, before we look out for our interests. And so that is vital and very important for you to understand if you are any of those people that I had just mentioned or the insured directly. We have to look out for them. And if you're a commercial real estate broker, you understand that because you have that same duty to your client. So I think that is super important. We have accountability. We have to do CE, which is continuing education, as Casey had said. And so that is something that's super important for you to understand as the general public. So a lot of people will ask us, like, how do we work with a public adjuster and what does that look like? Meaning, how do we interface, right? If you're a referral partner that wants to work with us as Bellator Claims as public insurance adjusters, because the insurance company is doing one of four things, okay? They're denying the claim, they're delaying the claim, they're diminishing the claim, meaning that they're underpaying the claim, or they're forcing you to defend the claim. That's more of an attorney thing than it is a public adjuster thing. However, we can usually set that claim up if it's going to go legal in a way that will help drastically support the attorney and their efforts getting stuff done. Ultimately, Casey, what are your thoughts as far as people interfacing and working with us specifically on, say, a hail-related claim?
So a lot of times our relationships are obviously with property managers, the end user, the policyholder, but we also have a lot of relationships with contractors. And where we find that the contractor really get the benefit of working with us is one of the D's you just talked about, which is diminished or like underpaid. So they acknowledge damage, but they haven't scoped the damage correctly, or they've underpaid the damage. They haven't included pressure washing the siding, they haven't included overhead profit, they haven't included what it actually takes to get the job done. So when contractors run into that with the insurance claim or with the estimate, that definitely is an opportunity and an appropriate time to be reaching out to us and say, hey, what should this claim look like? And we can do an intake and we can do a review and provide some feedback. And if it's something that we can bring value to and help that claim be in a better place, help the policyholder and in turn help the contractor, then definitely that's an opportunity for us as a public adjuster to get involved.
Yeah, 100%. One of the things that we like to do with new contractors is just have a conversation and make sure we want to, just like Casey said, we want to bring value to the claim and the insured and the contractor, right? Everybody's got to win. Otherwise, this is a pointless endeavor. And so what we want to do is make sure, like, hey, we can have a phone call, send over some photos. Okay. This is just a quick list, but what we want to see are photos, an estimate, if it's contractors and or the insurance companies, for sure a copy of the insurance policy, and then any sort of coverage letter, denial letter, and then a bonus would be, are there any reports? Was there a roofing report? Was there an engineer's report? Was there an assessment done by the roofer if you took core samples on a commercial property? Things like that. Anything that would help us help you as a contractor, which would then ultimately help our mutual client, which is the insured. Those are the things that we want to see to be able to help you, to be able to help them.
So if I could add one thing, Taylor,
Yeah.
the coverage letter they'll sometimes call it a partial denial letter, meaning like, hey, we
Right.
agree to pay for the siding and windows, but we're not going to pay for the roof. So that
Right.
would typically be a partial denial letter. Is how they would say that. So that always is good to give to us. That way we can say, hey, what are they or what are they not going to pay for and
Right.
why in the policy are they citing it? And sometimes they just have a boilerplate template letter that they're giving a policyholder that actually isn't what the policy says and is
Right.
not the appropriate way to apply it. So that actually
Yeah.
is a great point to try to remember the coverage letter, denial letter.
Yeah, exactly. And then with that information, we can take it in, we can review it, and usually, depending on our capacity and workload, I'd say between 48 and 72 hours, get back with you as the contractor or whoever sent the information in and really say, hey, look, we have a good chance of winning this claim. Or we can also tell you the other side of it's like, you know what, we reviewed it and I don't think this is something that we can win based on these 3 or 4 things that we're seeing. And we want to be able to help everybody. The truth and the reality of the situation is we can't. So we have to choose the claims that we think will most benefit from our involvement and be able to make the biggest movement as far as what can we bring to the table and what does the insured and the contractor get out of us being involved. And that's how we choose the claims. And really what we look at is what are all the compensating factors or just normal factors and everything else that kind of comes into it. But then it's like, okay, can we win it? And we always want to be at like a 70% chance of winning. Okay. You guys don't need us. We're at a 100% chance of winning, right? At 80%, maybe 70%, probably. And then we'll let you know, like, hey, we actually have a claim right now that Casey's looking at on a commercial property that we're like, hey, there's definitely damage, but we're not sure what the policy is going to allow for. And this one's really going to be based on the adjuster that we get coming out to the property. It's like a 50-50 shot. And so we'll let you know that too. But if it's below 50% chance that we think we're going to win, then it's hard for us to really take the claim on and bring value to it. And Casey, I'll let you speak to that point.
Yeah, well, and that's really important for us is to set an expectation to the policyholder,
Right.
to the contractor, just so
Yeah.
we don't say, "Oh yeah, let's go for it. We're gonna win it," and then we show up and the adjuster is saying, "Okay, well, there's not appropriate damage. This is not consistent
Right.
with the storm date." So it's really important we do our diligence on our end, storm dates, damage, like really make sure we're in a good place when we
Yeah.
show up there. That way, the expectations of the contractors are met, the expectation of the policyholders met. And if we say, "Hey, it's an adjuster to adjuster outcome," let's say, then we're going to set that expectation with our clients just to let them know.
Right.
And it really is, as much as people ask, hey, what's the best carrier in this? It really is adjuster to adjuster. Some adjusters are
Right.
absolutely great. Some adjusters are brand new and they don't know flat roofs or they don't know
Right.
final windows. So really
Yeah.
try to have some grace with new adjusters, but it really is going to be case by case scenario for sure.
100%. So the last question that we get a lot is when should we get a public adjuster involved? Casey, what is your answer to that, brother?
So my blanket answer when people ask me is once you hit a stall point, if you're a contractor, that's an opportunity to get us involved. If we're having a conversation with a contractor, you sent in a
Right.
supplement, they haven't responded, or they're not approving what you have. That at that point in time, I wouldn't keep going back and forth for another 30 days or another 60 days.
Right.
Like move on and send that to us. Let us tackle that. And then as a policyholder and insured, a commercial owner, if you recognize very early on that it's going to be a very complex situation, hey, simple hail damage to your roof, not quite as dynamic,
Right.
fire loss, real complex, you got
Yeah.
some windows, that's definitely a time to get us involved,
Cool.
just to make sure that we help with the indemnification process, advocating for you against the carrier.
Yeah. So absolutely. Casey is 100% right. And what we would really want if we had our choices to get us involved as soon as possible, right? We have clients that trust us to the level of looking at multi-million dollar claims, shopping malls all across Colorado. This is one of our property management clients that wants us to be the first on the property. So we have all of their properties across the state in our hail alert system, wind alert system that notifies us if there's some sort of catastrophe there related to hail or wind that then notifies us. And then we talk to them, hey, property management company, we have an alert at this property at this location. Can we go take a look? What's the lockbox combination? What's the access look like? And then they say, hey, this is the lockbox combo. There is ladder access behind the building. we just go take a look at it and document it for them. And then they have a conversation with us. We look at the policy again and say, okay, look, you have $50,000 policy. You have like $380,000 worth of damage based on our estimates. We think you should make a claim. Or, hey, you have the $50,000 deductible. You have like $15,000 in damage. Probably not smart to make a claim. So, really, if I had my choice, I'd want you guys to get us involved as soon as possible for multiple reasons, because we always say we'd rather like navigate the ship. It's like the Titanic, right? If we could have navigated it, we probably would have missed the freaking iceberg, right? I don't know if we're that good, but pretty damn good. So it's better to navigate the ship than try to raise a sinking ship that's on the ocean floor. It's way easier for us to help, and it takes way less time when it's not already sunken. And just understand there's dates and deadlines that we have to hit. And if we get involved at month 9, we don't get to start at month 9. That's the thing that I want you guys to know is we start at month 0, day 1, right? And because there's requirements that are in the policy that we as public adjusters are required to make sure that the insured meets these requirements and these obligations in the policy, so they can then push forward to forcing the insurance company to do their job. Because you can't expect the insurance company to do their job if the insured hasn't done their job, right? If the insured hasn't fulfilled their obligations, the insurance company is like, hey, you haven't done what you're supposed to do. Why are we supposed to do what we are supposed to do, right? And so there's a lot of like back and forth in that, but it's true. And so for me, as soon as possible, the better. But Casey brings up a really good point. Like, you hit a wall with the insurance company. Say as a contractor, you're negotiating, you got 20 out of the 200,000. At that point, you should get us involved, because you're going to might limp along and get 24,000, and then 3, 4, 5, 6 months goes past, and now we're running out of time to be able to do our job effectively and properly without trying to get them to extend deadlines, which they don't have to agree to, right? So it puts us in a bad position if we aren't getting involved soon enough. Casey.
That's a great point, Taylor, which is the deadlines that happen. So sometimes the contractors or
Right.
policyholder will sit on it too long, and then you get pushed up to, hey, we're not going to get our depreciation, or you run into these deadlines where you can't help the claim. So as soon as people recognize that, hey, we're having a problem, that definitely is an opportunity. And if we could jump back to one comment that you had, Taylor, I would
Yeah.
love to just pivot on that just for a second, or expand on it for a moment. If we look at it before you file a claim, then like you said, we can review what's our deductible, about how much is our damage going to be, and then we can offer some guidance of, hey, there's going to be value in getting a claim, there's going to be the coverage. So that way people are not filing a claim that's not warranted, or that's not going to be above their deductible. That's
Right.
especially applicable for, let's say, commercial buildings and some large loss applications.
Yeah, brother. Good points. Anything else you want to add before we wrap up today's session?
No, that's awesome, Taylor. I appreciate the time.
Yeah, brother. Thank you. Casey Kazir is now with Bellator Claims. We are super excited, super happy to have you on board, my brother. Thank you so much for being such a valuable asset and bringing so much value to our company and our contractors and our insureds.
Appreciate you, Taylor.
All right, brother. See you soon.